Hey guys, welcome to the homework number 9 video on box and whisker plot. So exciting. I was just looking through the exit tickets for this lesson. A lot of you guys did really well. So if so, then if you don't need to watch this video, that is totally fine. For everyone else, this is a good review in case there's anything that you saw that we needed to be adjusted, or that you wanted to have more information about. We're trying something new with this video. Also because I am filming this Friday after school and I have class in T-minus 45 minutes. So let's all hope that traffic is pretty good. But we're going to get started. We're just going to do this first problem because they're basically all the same. And then you guys can try the other two yourself. Remember, if you have questions, please feel free to come ask me or Miss Avra. So we're going to do the first problem here, first two problems on the back, and that's the outline for this video. So there's only going to be one, which is super exciting too. So let's get started. So first of all, it asks for outliers. I know we said that we're not going to talk much about that. If there were an outlier, we would see dots outside of the whiskers, and that is not present. So we don't see any, so there are no outliers on this sheet. Good, so looking again at this box and whisker plot, we see the lowest value corresponds to 2, and the highest value is the other whisker, and that one's 9. Looking here, if I'm trying to fill in my median, I know that my median is my middle line. So looking down, the median is going to be 4 because median again means middle. So this is my lowest value, highest value, median. Then I'm left with my lower quartile, which one looks like it's lower than the middle? This one right here. I know that my lower quartile value is 3, and my upper quartile is this line, which is 6. My inner quartile range is my upper quartile minus my lower quartile, which is 6 minus 3, which is 3. Again, we could also count from the edge of the box to this end. We go 1, 2, 3. That gives us our inner quartile range as well. So I think the most important thing is remember that your whiskers go on your lowest value and your highest value. Inside here, we draw our box, lower quartile, median, upper quartile. Once again, we're not going to go through these two problems because they're exactly the same as the one we just did above. But if you have any questions, please feel free to stop in and talk to me or Miss Avra on Monday morning before this is due. Lastly, the two ACT questions. You guys should be able to take care of these. I believe in you. This is finding the median. This is just an average problem, which is a little bit different. The key here is that in the last 3 games, she had a total of 6 hits. So even though we don't know how many hits she had per game, we know that the last 3 she had 6. So it tells us how many softball games there are. So a reminder that we add up our numbers here. And the total number of games goes below. And we know that there are 7 games. And we have numbers for game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4. And then this is games 5, 6, and 7. So we do have all the games. I'll let you fill this in yourself to find the answer. But again, if you have any questions, I'm going to go through that one more time just because I think I made it more confusing. But here, this is the hits in the first game, hits in the second game, hits in the third game, hits in the fourth game. And in the last games of game 5, game 6, and game 7, she had 6 hits combined. So even though we don't have the number of hits for each individual game, we have the number of total hits. So that should, hopefully, if you were stuck on that problem, that was a little summary that could help you solve it. Moving on to the back side, there's a bunch of pennies underneath my camera, so I'm going to move them. We're going to start with this first problem at the top from the IB textbook. So the double box and whisker plot represents test scores for your class and a friend's class. So which class do you think did better on the test? Why? And give one piece of evidence that supports your claim. So there's a lot of different pieces of evidence we could use. I think I'm going to go with median. So in your class or my class, the median score was a 90, which means that out of everyone, the median was a 90. Here, we can see the median score was an 80. So which class did better on the test? I'm going to say my class did better because we had a higher median score. If I were you guys, I'd be a little bit more specific and talk about like what that means that the median's higher, but remember that means that my middle score is higher, which means that this class up top probably did better because our distribution is centered around a higher number. So what is the interquartile range for each class? How could this support your claim for which class did better? So let's look here. So for your class, so also remember the interquartile range is our upper quartile minus our lower quartile. So for your class / my class, I'm going to draw a slash there. We can see that the upper quartile was 95. The lower quartile was about 85. So we have 95 minus 85, and that gives me 10. So the IQR for my class is 10. So for the friends class, we see our upper quartile is 90, lower quartile is 70, 90 minus 70 equals 20. So I'm not going to write out a claim because I want you guys to think through this yourself. I'm going to talk through it in case you're confused. You can listen to me talk about it right now. So since my class had an interquartile range of 10 and a higher median, that means that 50% of my scores were right in this box. So 25% were here, 25% were here, and 25% were even higher than that. So the fact that this interquartile range is so small means that 50% of the scores in my class were between 85 and 95, which is a very tight percent distribution, right? There's only 10% or 10 score possibilities in between those. So that's pretty cool, right? So that means that they did really well. And also, if we count up 25, 25, 25, so 75% of the people in the class scored above an 85. I'll say that again because I had a hard time getting that up. 75% of students scored above an 85, which is pretty impressive. Those are some good test scores. So here, my friend's class, they already had a lower median, right? We talked about that up here. So their median was lower. They also had a wider range. So for them, 25% of their data was in this box. 25% was here. I'm going to switch colors. I think that would make it less confusing. So 25% was in this box. So this whole box represents 50% of our data. So 50% of students scored between a 70 and a 90. So that's not as good as 50% of students scoring between an 85 and a 95. So if we're talking about why the interquartile range matters for which class did better, I would say first step, we'd look at the median. And 2, describe how the interquartile range relates to the median. But we can see we'd much rather have 75% of our students scoring above an 85 than 75% of our students scoring above a 70, right? So the fact that the IQR is wider means that there were more students that did worse than an 80. So like there are 25% scoring from a 70 to an 80, whereas over here, it's a lot smaller range. So the scores, 25% of the students who scored below the median, it's not as far down as when we look at our friend's class. I'm going to say that again one more time. I think that was also confusing. So here, even this quartile right here between the 85 and the 90, there's only a 5-point difference, right? Whereas here, the quartile between a 70 and an 80, that's a 10-point difference, right? So it means that there's a lot more data that is close to our median in our class than our friend's class, or scores that are tighter. If you have any questions about this one, I think this one is pretty confusing. Again, please come talk to me or Miss Avra. But I have faith in you guys. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us as well. Good, I'm gonna do this one here. I'm gonna set it up so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. And then I'll let you do number 10 on your own. So remember, the first step is always to order numbers in order. So let's get started with that. So the lowest one I see is 11, and then I see I have a 12, and another 12, a 13, a 14, a 15, a 16, a 17, nope, no 17, an 18, my bad, and a 19. So let's start with the box and whisker plot. So let's start with our lowest value. I'll write that out. Lowest value is an 11, so that means I'm going to draw my first whisker at the 11. My highest value is a 19, so that means I'm going to draw my upper whisker at the 19. I'm going to label those 11 and 19. That is my lowest value and my highest value. Next, I think the easiest thing to see is the median. I'm going to cross it out in this color. Let's see what my median is going to be. So if I cross out here and here, highest and lowest, all the way in, I see that my median is going to be 14. So I'm going to draw another line at 14, and that is my median. So next we have let's look for our lower quartile. I wish I had more colors. I'm sorry, guys. I need to go to the stationery store and get some pens. So we are going to look at all of the values, all values less than the median. So that means I'm looking at these numbers right here because my median is 14, so I'm not going to include 14 in what I consider for my lower quartile. Once again, I'm not going to include 14 because it is the median. So now I'm looking here at my lower values that are less than my median. So I can cross out the 11 and the 13. And I'm left with a 12 and a 12. So what do? I take 12 plus 12 divided by 2, which it gives me 12 plus 12 is 24, divided by 2 is 12. So I'm going to draw another box or another line right at 12 because I know that's my lower quartile. Looking at my upper quartile, I have all of the numbers that are greater than my median. So I'm looking at the 15 to 19. Once again, cross them out at 15, cross out 19. I'm left with 16 plus 18, and I take the average of those two numbers. 16 plus 18 divided by 2 is 17. So this is my upper quartile at 17. So I'm going to label that as my upper quartile. This is my lower quartile. So now you can see I have my 5 lines that are important. I'm going to make my box first, so connect these middle points into a box, and then extend my whiskers to the side. So here I have my box and whisker plot, right? I have my middle box, I have my 2 whiskers extending to the side. That's what we needed to do. So if you have any questions about that, once again, please talk to me or Miss Avra. I'm going to let you guys try this one on your own. Just a reminder, always remember first step is to put these guys in order so that we have them in order from least to greatest. Last thing is the ACT problems. I'm going to walk through. The second one is just finding the mean, so I'm going to leave that to you guys. This one's a little bit trickier, so let's read through it together. The average of 5 numbers is 89. What is the 5th number if the first 4 numbers are 78, 92, 96, and 94? So here, there's a lot of important information. I know that I have 5 numbers, and I know that the mean or the average is 89. So how do I find the mean? I add up all the numbers that I know and divide by how many there are. So I know that there's going to be 5 numbers because it told me right here. So I'm going to end up dividing by 5. So I'm going to add in the numbers I know. So I have 78 plus 92 plus 96 plus 94. So how many numbers do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm missing one. The other number I see in the problem is 89, but they told me that this is the mean. So I know that at the end, I'm going to get 89 because they told me that it was the average, so I can't count that as part of my daily temperature. So I don't know what this last value is going to be, right? That's also a 9 because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. So I'm going to call that unknown 5th number an X. We also know that it's an unknown because the question is asking what is the 5th number. So I know that that's going to be what I'm looking for. So I am going to then solve for X. So the first thing that I'm going to do, if I want to get this X by itself, is I'm going to multiply by 5. So I'm going to have 78 plus 92 plus 96 plus 94 plus X, because this 5 and this 5 cancel, and that equals 89 times 5, which is 445. So if I add up, I'm going to switch colors, all of these numbers, this is going to be, I did it a long time ago, so let me look really quick. This is going to equal 360. So I'm going to have 360 plus x equals 445. And then to get x by itself, I'm going to subtract 360. These will cancel and subtract 360. And I end up with x equals 85, which is answer choice A. If you need to watch the video again and rewind, please do. Otherwise, that's it for today because I'm going to let you do number 7 by yourselves. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or Miss Avra. Otherwise, have a good weekend and see you guys on Monday.